Let's Talk Property, an informal podcast show all about the UK property and mortgage market. I'm Neezam, and joining me is my co-host Lee. Whether you're a seasoned property investor or just starting to think about buying your first home, this podcast is for you. We'll be discussing a range of topics, including the latest market trends, tips for finding the perfect property, and how to secure the best mortgage deal. So join us as we explore the world of property and help you make informed decisions about your next property purchase. So today's topic is credit scores versus credit reports. So what out of the two, which one is more important when you are getting a mortgage? That is what we're going to talk about today, Lee.
Great topic, and I think a lot of people would get this wrong. Which one's kind of more important? I don't know what you're going to talk about actually, so you might throw me in the deep end here, but I think a lot of people do get this wrong. A lot of people we come across anyway do get this wrong. So it's a great subject. Great subject.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons I wanted to cover it. Really, is it's I tend to find from talking to a lot of first time buyers, especially. And actually people remortgaging or moving home, but ultimately it's first time buyers mostly that are really worried about getting declined for a mortgage. So they have the big dream of getting on a property ladder. They might tick all the boxes, they might have the deposit there, or they might have the financial support from that side, the income might be good, but they might have had some historical issues on their credit reports. They might have had some blips, they might have had some life events that led to them having a less than perfect credit score. And that fear alone can put a lot of people off even trying to get a mortgage, from my experience. So I'm sure it's the same for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people it's quite a scary thing. This like document that's held on file that has all your financial sort of history on there, and you sort of think what's going on behind the scenes and how am I seen to banks and lenders and creditors. So yeah, it's a good one. Looking forward to this.
Lovely stuff. We'll dive in then. So
Yeah.
if you are that person that we just described, so if you are someone that is sat there thinking, I'd love to be able to buy my house, I'd love to be able to remortgage and raise some equity, I'd love to it might be actually I'd love to be able to get off of this interest rate that I'm on and move to a more competitive high street bank or building society, but you are concerned or you're worried, or that fear is getting to you that you're going to get declined, then actually let's talk about how important a credit score is versus a credit report, and which one is more important between the two. So if we dive into credit score, so I tend to think about a credit score as in like a financial scorecard, really. So it's your financial health. It's usually 3-digit number that gives the lenders a quick snapshot of your credit worthiness. So in the UK, credit scores generally 0 to 999 with Experian, 0 to 710, I think, with Equifax, and 0 to 710 with TransUnion as well. So they're not all measured in the same way, firstly. So that's the first thing. You might talk to your mate and they'll say, I've got a 985 credit score. And you're thinking, oh, mine's 680. Then don't compare the two, because they may not be the same credit reference agency. And in short, our higher score generally means that you've got better credit health, making you a more attractive borrower. So if we have a little look at what kind of things affect this number. So, excuse me. Number one is payment history. So did you pay your bills on time? Have you missed any payments? Have you been in arrears? Have you reached the point of defaulting on a credit account? So if you look through your, again, I'm not going to dive into credit report, but your credit score will factor in if you've missed any payments on anything you've ever borrowed money on. And that is anything from a mortgage all the way to car finance, all the way to, getting that iPhone on Apple Finance. That will be on your credit, and that will appear on your credit score, good or bad, depending on how well you're keeping it in payments. The second one is credit utilization. So this is how much of your available credit are you using right now? So higher credit balances relative to your credit limit can hurt your score. So if you are, let's say, someone who has £10,000 available across all 3 different credit cards, and you're using 9,950, anyone is going to look at that, and again, this is kind of the way the credit reference agencies work. They're going to look at it and say, this person is utilizing almost all of their available credit. And you might think, well, isn't that what they want us to do? But actually, it can also go against you if you are using that much, because it almost indicates that you might be reliant on it, or you might just be kind of using any credit you've got available, which is not always seen as a positive thing, and obviously can lead to you getting into sort of debts that become unmanageable as well. So that's the first two. The third one is credit history length. So the longer you've had credit accounts open and in good standing order, the better. So again, we see this a lot, don't we, with people that have not been in the UK for very long, and they might be a foreign national that has moved to the UK 3 years ago. Up until 3 years ago, they had no credit footprint in the UK, of course. Now they've got 3 years, but actually, they might not have missed payment. They might have been doing all the things that they should be doing, but their credit score might not be great. And that's because there's not a long enough track record for a credit reference agency to say whether they are a good borrower or a bad borrower, because so far it looks good, but actually they would need a bit more of a track record on that side. And we're usually looking at around 6 years for most, aren't we?
Yeah.
Number 4, credit mix, a variety of credit types. And I think this is one that doesn't get talked about a lot as well. So credit cards, loans, mortgages, having a mixture of different credit types can also impact your score positively. So again, if you're just using loans, if you're just using credit cards, it's not quite as good as having a combination. I can't really put much logic to that. There must be a reason for it. But again, that is something that apparently is going to have a positive impact on your score. And the last one, number 5, is new credit. So if you're opening up lots of credit accounts, if you're looking to apply for a credit card here, there, and the other places, and you're getting a loan here, and you're applying for car finance there, and you're applying for a mortgage, that looks like you are having some sort of crisis, I guess. It looks like you're, trying to open up lots of credit. Why is that? It's not necessarily seen as a good sign if you are opening 3 credit cards at the same time, as well as a loan and something else. So again, that can go against you in terms of credit score. So they're the 5 things that I would say to look out for on there, Lee. Would you add anything else?
No, I think you've kind of covered everything. I think it was specifically with like utility bills and things like that. They go on there as well, don't they? It's not just credit. It's like your British gas bill, or
That's right.
I think car insurers, don't they? They go on there. I think if you're seen, sometimes car insurance policies are like credit. You may not know it. Sometimes you might have to read it in the small print, but sometimes they're taking out credit to take out insurance. So I think, but all of that sort of combined just build up your credit file. But I think that covered everything. Yeah, no, that's spot on.
Fantastic. So I guess just one thing to add in: a credit score is not set in stone. So it changes as your financial behavior changes. So if you go through a really bad patch, actually, and then obviously your credit score takes a dive, it's not unrecoverable. You can improve it. You just need time, and you just need to demonstrate that you are back in a good sort of stronger financial position. So you're paying things on time. You're not opening payday loans every month. That kind of thing really is something that can help. So if you see a credit score and it's fair, poor, whatever, and it's not excellent, don't write it off. There is potential to get it to excellent. You might just need time and understanding on how to do that. So credit report. Let's have a look at credit report. So your credit report is, I like this description. So it's like a financial diary that lenders can dig into. So it contains all the nitty gritty details about your credit history, and think of it as all the things that make up your credit score. So it's all the stuff that actually in more detail supports your credit score, either good or positively or negatively. So here's what you'll find in your credit report. So personal information. So your name, your address, should have your address history going back over the last 6+ years, and any financial associates. So that's anyone you've ever had a joint account with, whether that's a basic bank account or a mortgage. their details will also appear there as well as a joint financial associate. Credit account. So we talked about, your credit accounts will show the detail of your credit accounts will show. So how much did you borrow? What type of credit is it? Is it a credit card? Is it a loan? Is it a payday loan? Is it car finance? Is it a mortgage? The details of all of that will be in there alongside your payment history as well. So it will show a record, again, going back as maximum of 6 years, but generally from when the account was set up, it will give a payment track record every month. And if you've been on time every month and paid it on time every month, then you'll have lots of green squares. If you have missed a payment, or if you've missed multiple payments, it will then turn into sort of an amber or red, and then potentially go into default status, which is usually 6 payments late or more, 6 payments in arrears. Public records, so any county court judgments, so any CCJs, bankruptcies, insolvencies, they will show under a separate record called public records. We've talked about financial associations, so again, the details of them will be shown in there as well. Joint account holders, co-borrowers, and also searches, which is a one that Lee was sort of referring to earlier as well, in terms of insurance. If you're getting car insurance, it might show on your credit report, but it will also show in your credit search. So that basically just says who has been checking your report, who have you done, who's carried out a credit footprint against you. And that could be anything from applying for car insurance to applying for a loan, credit card, opening up a bank account, switching bank accounts. Or sometimes you'll find that a creditor will just do a credit check on you, which I've seen on my report before, where you haven't applied for it, but they've just done a sort of audit credit check, which is and you can go into the difference between a hard footprint and a soft footprint. Ultimately, a hard footprint is when you're applying for credit. A soft footprint is usually when someone's checking your report, and it's usually when you're aware of it. So that can often be, for example, when a mortgage, it's an agreement in principle. So it's before the full application, but it's kind of the indicative bit to see if the lender's kind of dipping their toe in to see if they like what they see, and if they do, then they'll agree your application in principle, and then they'll allow you to apply. So why is a credit report so crucial? Well, it gives a lender, or gives any lenders, more in-depth look at your financial behavior. A credit score might not be perfect, but actually, healthy credit report with consistent, responsible financial habits can be convincing evidence that you're a good borrower. So sometimes, like we said, people go through separations, they go through bad patches, they go through ill health, they might have someone that they care for. All these different things can impact you unforeseen, and can impact your credit, financial health, and your credit score takes a hit. Now, if it's a one isolated incident or a few isolated incidents, then again, don't write it off. Even your credit score is not great, because not every lender will look just at your credit score. They'll also take a view and dive into your financial diary, which is your credit report.
That's super helpful. I think, from sort of the outside looking in, I think like a score is like a quick way to kind of just sort of understand where you're at as a whole, but actually the report is where it's kind of, that's what builds up your score, isn't it? Effectively, the report is kind of what builds up the score. And I think a lot of people, particularly first-time buyers, when you download a report or you register and you find out what your score, you kind of, the quick thing is just to look at your score, isn't it? It's just to look at, okay, what am I out of 800, 700, 900 or whatever it is, and it's kind of like, oh, I'm on 700 and I'm on 900, but actually your credit report might not actually be bad. It might not have anything bad in it. It might just be you haven't got a lot on it, or there might be an error, or there might be so many things, isn't it? So I think when you say credit report sort of versus credit score, it's almost like the score is the sort of instant, sort of quick answer that you get from when you log in and you think, oh God. But actually, really, the real nitty gritty, and where probably specifically when you're talking mortgages and property, the real nitty gritty is kind of under the bonnet, as it were, under that score. What's built up of that score? Is it just actually they've got a 700, but actually they've never taken out credit, or they've got very little on their file? To me, it sounds like that's probably a lot of people do focus on that score, don't they?
Absolutely. And it's easy, isn't it? It's easy to understand. The credit report's not easy to understand. So if you're not clued up, then a score is, I guess that's the whole point of the score, is it's easy for you to check quickly. Am I good? Am I bad? Am I poor? Am I excellent? All these different ratings they give you. It's easy to see where you sit, and it's easy for other lenders to see where you sit on that kind of gradient. So great. So I think, the takeaway for me is the balance is key. So the question that I've posed here is, what's more important? Well, they're both important, but actually, from our experience, from my experience, the detail is more important than the score with some lenders. With some lenders, you won't get past the front door if your score is not good enough. So again, it's understanding that. For me, it's having a balance between the two. So, when it comes to getting a mortgage, it's not all about that 3-digit score. Lenders take a holistic approach. A lot of lenders will consider your score, and they'll consider the information on your credit report. So there's a few tips that I've kind of put in here, 4 different tips, which I think will help anyone in that situation or is worried. So focus on improving your credit score is the first thing. Make sure your payment history is clean. Work on paying down your debts. Look at some of the tips that they give you on the credit reference agency websites on how to improve your score. That would be the first thing I would look at doing. The second thing is, don't obsess over your score. It's really, really easy to get sucked into getting that perfect 999 score. And for some odd reason, I've seen so many credit files reports where they go to 998. And then, why is it not 999? It stops at 998. And again, this sort of the cynical side of me thinks, is that just so to get you to continue paying for the membership? Who knows? But don't obsess. 998 is as good as 999, and to be fair, 900 is a great score as well. So don't obsess over it. Score isn't absolutely essential. It's not the only thing that lenders consider. Number 3 is seek professional advice. If you're concerned about your credit, consult a mortgage advisor, financial advisor. There's some great, financial step change, great financial impartial charity out there. If you're concerned about your credit score, you're concerned that you're not able to keep up with payments, then you're probably way early on in the process of buying a property. But actually, seeking professional advice is the best thing to do, and that can help you long term, because it will hopefully minimize any damage to your credit report, which then takes 6 years to get off. So getting some help on that side would be great. And number 4 is shop around for lenders. Different lenders have different criteria. Like we said, if one lender declines you on score, you might not get in through the door, particularly on the high street. But actually another lender, which might be a lender you wouldn't normally think of approaching, and the interest rates may not be that dissimilar, they might give you the green light. You might get the approval with them based on credit report rather than credit score. So it's not impossible. If your score is less than perfect, don't obsess over it. Don't worry too much about it. All I think I would do is put yourself in the lender's position. So are you what you would think would be a responsible borrower? Would you lend yourself money if you were them? Have a look at your credit report if you can. And if you have had those blips, and you can explain them away, seek advice and especially speak to the mortgage advisor, because they'll be able to understand your circumstances and then use their experience to kind of help you get a mortgage, rather than going straight to the sort of adverse credit lenders who are gonna take a lot of money off you, fees and interest rates and things like that quite happily. So I think for me, it's that balance, and hopefully that helps some of you that are feeling in that sort of situation.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really helpful for people who just may have got a free login or a free access, and they've just seen their score and it's 700 or it's 800 or 600 or whatever it might be. Then actually it's not, I can't buy a property, I can't buy my first home. It's kind of stressing that the report is just as important, if not more important, under the bonnet of the score. I think what I take from this and what you said at the last bit is just plan ahead. If you're thinking about buying, download your report. If you think about buying in 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year, just download your report. I know it can be quite nerve-wracking. I don't know if I want to see my score. I've got to register and download it. But I think for me, it's just kind of, right, I'm just going to download it. Let's see what my score is. Understand it. and then work on ways to improve it. I think, and then at least you're planning ahead and you're giving yourself the best opportunity to get on the ladder or remortgage or whatever it might be. I think just to add to your tips there, checking it for errors. The amount of times we come across people who are just go, oh, I don't recognize that address, or I don't recognize that person's name, or I only had one a few weeks ago where a couple had split up and he had some credit still open that he said he'd closed down, and that was about 10, 11 years ago. So, it was in joint names, just to be clear. So it's like, it's those sort of things that, it's just planning ahead. But I think that's really good. I think it's a great podcast episode for people. So many people are worried about their score and report. I think it's reassuring, really reassuring. Enjoyed it.
Excellent stuff. Great. Brilliant. Right. Shall we pop a credit report link in description? So if anyone wants to get a copy of the credit report, there is a company that we usually recommend called Check My File. It is an affiliate link, just to be transparent. So I think we get a small payment, a couple of pounds, if you do sign up to it. But we can pop a link in the description, and anyone that wants to get a credit report wholeheartedly, they're the best. They're the best credit reports, really, aren't they? Because they combine all of those different credit reference agencies into one report. So, if that is what you want to get and it's a free trial, then you may as well sign up to it and then do what you want.
Yeah, I really like that one because it's some credit agencies, they're black and white, they're not very colourful, and it's really hard to understand the reports. Whereas the Check My File one, it's colours and it just sounds quite childish in a way, but it just makes it so much easier to understand. So
definitely. It's quite dry anyway, isn't it? So may as well add some colour to it.
That's it.
Brilliant. Do you want to take us away then?
Yeah, no problem. Bear me 2 seconds. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Let's Talk Property. We hope you found the discussion of the UK property market informative and helpful. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover in the future episodes, feel free to send us a message. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and follow us on social media for updates on future episodes. Until next time, we'll see you in the property market.